Today we're looking at standard English conventions from Practice Test 6, and there are 20 questions. Number 1. In the winter of 1968, scientists David Schindler and Greg Brunskill poured nitrates and phosphates into Lake 227. This is one of the 58 freshwater bodies that compose Canada's remotely located experimental lakes area. D with the comma between 227 and 1 is the best answer, because a comma is needed to separate the main independent clause from the dependent clause that describes the lake. The pronoun 1 is used correctly to refer to its antecedent, Lake 227. Number 2. While deliberately adding chemical compounds to a lake may seem destructive and irresponsible, this method of experimenting is sometimes the most effective way to influence policy and save the environment from even more damaging pollution. A, no change, is the best answer, because the comma is used correctly to separate the introductory dependent clause from the independent clause that follows it. Number 4. Just weeks after the scientists added the nitrates and phosphates, the water in Lake 227 turned bright green. It was thick with the same type of algal blooms that had plagued Lake Erie. B, with the colon after green, is the best answer, because the colon is used properly to introduce an independent clause that explains or elaborates on the information that came before in the sentence. Number 6. In one half of Lake 226, they added phosphates, nitrates, and a source of carbon. In the other, they added just nitrates, and a source of carbon was added. B, and a source of carbon, is the best answer, because it is concise. It does not repeat the idea of addition. Number 7. The experiment confirmed their suspicions when the half of the lake containing the phosphates was teeming with blue-green algae. A, no change, is the best answer, because the singular past tense verb was teeming agrees in number with the singular subject half, and is consistent with the other past tense verbs in the paragraph. Number 12. Italy's Tower of Pisa had been leaning southward since the initial stages of its construction over 800 years ago. D, stages of its, is the best answer, because it correctly provides the plural noun stages and the singular possessive pronoun its with no apostrophe. 14. Luckily, the tower survived, and its tilt has made it an Italian icon. It attracts visitors from all over who flock to Pisa to see one of the greatest architectural weirdnesses in the world. B, icon, attracting, is the best answer, because the participle attracting introduces a dependent clause that appropriately modifies the noun icon. 17. By the late 20th century, the angle of the tower's tilt had reached an astonishing 5.5 degrees. In 1990, Italy's government closed the tower to visitors and appointed a committee to find a way to save it. A, no change, is the best answer, because the comma is used correctly after the prepositional phrase in 1990 to introduce the independent clause. 19. Enter committee member John Burland. He is a geotechnical engineer from England who saved London's clock tower Big Ben from collapse. D, delete the underlined portion, is the best answer, because deleting he is eliminates the comma splice that exists in the original sentence. Two independent clauses cannot be joined by only a comma. 21. Berlin advocated using soil extraction, removing small amounts of soil from under the tower's north side, opposite its tilt, to enable gravity to straighten the tower. A, no change, is the best answer, because the verb advocated and the participle using are appropriate in this context. Advocated functions as the main verb, and using introduces the clause that tells what Berlin advocated. 27. By virtue of their medical training, PAs can perform many of the jobs traditionally done by doctors, including treating chronic and acute conditions, performing minor surgeries, and prescribing some medications. C, there, is the best answer, because the plural possessive pronoun their correctly refers to its antecedent, or plural antecedent, PAs. Number 28. By virtue of their medical training, PAs can perform many of the jobs traditionally done by doctors, including treating chronic and acute conditions, performing minor surgeries, and prescribing some medications. D, surgeries, and, is the best answer, because the comma is used correctly to separate the items in the list of jobs that PAs can perform. 29. However, although well compensated, earning in 2012 a median annual salary of $90,930, PAs cost healthcare providers less than do the physicians who might otherwise undertake these tasks. B, compensated with the amount, or this other phrase in parentheses, is the best answer. The parentheses are used to correctly I enclose information that is interesting but not essential to the sentence. If the parenthetical information were to be deleted, the sentence would still make sense. 30. Moreover, the training period for PAs is markedly shorter than those for physicians, 2 to 3 years versus the 7 to 11 required for physicians. C, that for, is the best answer, because that for agrees with the singular antecedent period, and compares two similar things, the training period for PAs, and the training period for physicians. 33. Both by merit and from necessity, PAs are likely to greet more patients than ever before. D is correct. There was the wrong form of patients. We need P-A-T-I-E-N-T-S. And than is the comparative form, A-N. 36. The shift from the Golden to the Silver Age is probably the most successful example of publishers responding to changing times and tastes. D, example of publishers with no punctuation, is the best answer, because no punctuation is needed to set off the prepositional phrase of publishers. 39. In addition to supervillains, the new soon-to-be iconic characters of the age, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and the Hulk among them, had to cope with mundane, real-life problems, including paying the rent, dealing with family squabbles, and facing anger, loneliness, and ostracism. D is the best answer. We have the dash after this phrase, between them and the verb had. Another dash is required before Spider-Man to set off the 9 essential clause. 41. More transformations would take place in the medium as the Silver Age gave way to the Bronze and Modern, and possibly Postmodern ages. Such efforts have yielded diminishing returns, as even the complete relaunch of DC Comics superheroes line in 2011 has failed to arrest the steep 2-decade decline of comic book sales. A, no change, is the best answer, because the present verb, or present perfect verb, have yielded, is used correctly to indicate that the action of the sentence began in the past and is ongoing in the present. In this case, the transformation of comics from the Silver Age to subsequent ages began in the past and continues today. 42. Same text. D is the best answer. Comics superhero. The possessive plural noun comics and adjective superhero appropriately indicate that the superhero line is a feature of the comics. So the superheroes belong to the comics, but the line doesn't belong to the superheroes. 44. For both commercial and arguably creative reasons, then, no transition was more successful than those from the Golden to Silver Age. C, that, is the best choice, because the singular pronoun that agrees in number with its singular antecedent, transition.